Hi, everyone. This is Rico Figliolini, host of Peachtree Corners Life here in the city of Peachtree Corners, just north of Atlanta, little smart city just north of Atlanta. Appreciate you joining us. We have a normal guest, although we haven't done it in a few weeks. Brian Johnson, city manager. Hey, Brian.
Hey Rico.
Hey. The last time I saw you, felt like you were almost in the torture chamber of a meeting. That was my personal opinion. Um, it was a very long meeting. I think almost 4 hours. And it was about standing up the police, if you will, in City of Peachtree Corners, the possibilities of what that would look like, the facts that you needed to put out there. This was the second community meeting held at in the city council chambers. And by my count, I think there was about 150 or so people. I counted all the seats in there, and I think they were all filled practically.
Yep.
All the city council members, I think, or pretty much all of them.
Yep. It was.
I think Gwinnett Police was there, and it was just a big, good old meeting for 4 hours. Um, how'd you feel about that meeting?
Well, community meetings are always interesting.
Hmm.
You usually only have them when you have a topic or an issue that is significant enough to get people to leave their house and come to a location. So, these kind of things, your typical, council members will sometimes have town hall meetings that they're just some updates, but, nothing. And they'll varying levels of attendance, sometimes as little as 10,
Yeah.
but when you have a community meeting about an issue that's significant to the community, you always know going in that you're going to get everything. You're going to get all extremes. You're going to get ones who are adamantly opposed, adamantly in favor. A lion's share of the people won't get up, won't want to talk
Hmm.
or ask questions, or just there to listen and then they'll leave.
Yeah.
But, generally the ones who are against whatever is being considered are more fired up and emotional than ones who are maybe in favor.
Yeah.
And so you just go into them knowing that, and our community meeting was no different than,
Yeah. Well,
that.
and I'll be transparent too. I mean, obviously, as publisher of Peachtree Corners magazine and several other magazines and a few podcasts, and I've lived here since '95. So before the city was voted city light, if you will, which again, I'll tell people, as I've always said, I never thought City Light was actually a city, but I didn't mind it. I wanted there to be a city here because eventually I knew that Gwinnett County, as fast as it was growing, wouldn't be able to attend to the city the same way its own people would be able to do, right? Because there's diverse um, agendas on there as well. So even though we had a county commissioner at the time that lived in Peachtree Corners, who knows where the next county commissioner would have been from in the district, and may have been, looking at their own city, maybe that they lived in versus our city. So and I say that because the no city vote, which was a big, big thing, but people didn't want the city. They thought city light. They didn't think we needed a city and all that. And I think we did. And it's proved out to me over the last decade plus that it's been a good thing. Curiosity Lab, Town Center, which wouldn't have happened unless the city bought it or helped buy it and do what they needed to do there. That would have been way more apartments than what Solus Peachtree Corners is right now. Way,
Oh
way more.
yeah.
Yes, because that was okayed, I think, at the time for 480 units or more, I think, at that point. Simpsonwood Park would not exist because of our ability
Correct.
to get the county to purchase that land. That would have been probably R60 homes, similar to what's in North Manor now.
And the city contributed about 25% of the purchase price itself from
Yes,
city coffers.
yes, which was eventually paid back over a year or two, I think was just paid back. Um, so there were things that the city's done, good things. So that's what I think went well. And the Forum, there's another one. I used to drive through the 17 empty stores. It's almost all full at this point. And People wanted it to remain the same. They were afraid there would be more density, more people coming. They didn't care that there was 17 empty stores. They wanted to be able to park in front of the store that they needed to go shop at. So just to me, listening in that meeting, I felt like almost every no, hell no, no, never type of discussions was basically, and I know people will be upset by this, but basically people that did not ever want a city formed. At least that was the majority from what I can count because I kept a tally. It was almost quite a few of the people that went up there was for that reason. Grew out of that. And and so they had a mindset because of that versus looking at it differently. I mean,
You're not wrong. I knew three-quarters of the people who were adamantly opposed,
mhm,
who were pretty fired up about it. And I know the three-quarters of them because I've had an official dealing with them of in some regard, some about City Light, some because they weren't happy with the sidewalk project that the city did by their house. Some
mm,
weren't happy that the city doesn't allow backyard chickens. Some, I
right.
mean, I can, as they stood up, and I know many of their names before they even said it. I was like, I already knew because they had had an interaction with the city that had resulted in something that they were not happy with.
Hmm.
That had nothing to do with police. And it just made them mad.
Yeah,
And and this is an issue they're fired up about as well. And so they melded together. So yes, there are certainly sometimes preconceived notions and an attitude about anything the city is involved in
yeah,
that makes people mad. Even one was anti-pedestrian bridge. And you
right.
know, even moving aside from whether or not the bridge is used as much as it should be,
Hmm.
just the just the landmark that it serves. It's a known optical, you know, uh,
It's iconic.
symbol of
The city.
where Peachtree Corners is for those who might be passing through and don't even realize where the city, that's not our city limits, but just don't even know that what city they're driving through.
Yes,
Cities have those things,
right.
and that's our downtown. And so, it hasn't hurt anybody. We didn't ask for anybody to contribute more taxpayer dollars to it.
Hmm.
But yet they were mad that the city did that, and they have taken that and they have just kept it bottled up.
Yes.
And this was an opportunity for them to let some of it out.
Totally agree. And listen, I was not necessarily for the bridge either, although I came to the side of wanting the bridge because it is iconic. I was just against the original designs that would have cost $12 million versus what it ended up being. So having good discourse on these things,
Yep.
good, you know, back and forth on it,
Yep.
actually made it a way better project and a way cheaper project than it was
Well,
originally.
and Rico, that's a good segue back to just the police discussion in general.
Mhm.
Is the more of these things, opportunities we have to hear from the community, to either learn from the community or help educate the community or a combination thereof. It's the back and forth.
Right.
The more educated the city and its elected officials are when it's time to make the decision.
Hmm.
So there have been aspects of this. You've attended both of the community meetings, and we've had discussions about, things that we've learned are not as important to the community or areas we need to make sure that we're looking into, don't forget to consider this. And so it's a little bit of it's an evolving thing just like the bridge was.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think the city has learned quite a bit also because coming back to that
Absolutely.
second meeting, I think one of the main arguments, if you will, is that you've heard at these meetings, right? Is that sure the if we take over the millage rate, so for people to understand, if it's $11 million of millage rate, court fees, and such that the county collects, that 11 million or parts of that, I guess 10 million, right? 9.8 million,
No, it would be about the same.
the
We
whole
would
thing.
generate about the same court
All right.
revenue.
So that all comes over to the city, right? So for people to understand that this money is moving from here to here. Okay. Now, will it cost us a little bit more for certain things? Sure. I think you all discussed how it would be maybe whatever the number was, 1.9, 1.8 million, one-time cost, or at least, setup cost,
Yep,
police, uniforms, building, blah, all this, all the one-time, if you will, ongoing, some of it's ongoing, obviously, but that would be handled by city coffers, city revenue. Maybe some SPOS money would be in
yep,
there somewhere, and monies that you all realize, you know what, we could do a few things from different places. We can make this work because you've heard that argument about spending money. So you've actually fine-tuned how you would do that. So which is good, right?
absolutely.
Wasn't that the feedback?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you've gotten that feedback. So now you're going to do that. The millage rate is coming over. It would come over if this were to happen. And if it's a little bit more, I think the argument was that depending on the medium household income, household value, it was maybe $70 a year
Yep.
that would come over to the millage side.
Well, if so, just know that the
Okay.
11 million that Gwinnett generated out of Peachtree Corners
Mhm.
last year, that would come over to the city if we created our own department.
Right.
The cost of us having a department that is the the recommended size
Right.
of department that the outside firm that we use to evaluate what size would be the ideal based on the calls for service Gwinnett had
Hmm.
was such that we are about $1.2 million short. Ours would cost 12.2 and we would get 11.
Okay. So it was $70 more on the bill, I guess.
Right. So if we didn't make any changes and we just
Right.
said, all right, we need to find 1.2 million and we're
Mhm.
not looking at any other revenue source, we're not going to do anything, we're just going to raise the millage,
Right.
match, it would result in a an average increase based on the median home value of about $70 per year.
Right.
Now, if
Yep.
you own a $2 million home, it'll be more than that.
Right.
If you own a $200,000 home, it will be less than that. I think the median home value in the city right now is around four.
I think it's about 400, right?
Yeah, yeah, 400. So for that value, it would be about $70 more if that was the only way we did it versus again. And then maybe we don't close the gap completely, but maybe it's not 1.2, maybe it's only 500,000. And so, or
So,
600. And so it's only
and
$35 instead of 70 more a
okay,
year. But yeah, that's
but
where
but
we're at.
right, and I have my tax bill here somewhere, my property tax bill, and I'm looking at it. And I'm like, okay, well, you know, number one, the police force wouldn't stand up for 4 years, right? So who knows where that property
Correct.
tax will be? Um, I know that they say, well, the county doesn't hasn't raised property taxes or something. They don't have to. The property assessment keeps going up. So they don't ever have to raise the quote tax on you because that's how they raise it by the property assessment, right?
Well, they do. Now, that's generally how they've done countywide, but just
Yes,
remember, just 5 years ago,
yes,
Gwinnett County raised the special police millage from 1.6 to
that's right.
2.9.
That's right.
So they
That was a
have
big raise.
raised the
Yeah.
amount we as Peachtree Corners residents pay Gwinnett County
Mhm.
by 1.3 mils.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
insignificant.
Yes, and that's for the police side. So 4 years from now, or 5 years from now, depending when this is done, if it's done at all, um, you know, $70, $35, $120. We don't know where we're going to be 4 years from now. The heat map that you all showed was the best visual that I saw. Although the line of barbarians at the gate, honestly, I think that was a little overdue, a little over the edge. But um, there is crime at the border, and there is crime even in select areas of Peachtree Corners. You know what people call the South Side, retail crime, because it's happened at the Forum, and it's happened at Town Center. Break-ins in Peachtree Corners Station also.
Yep.
Just recently, there was a mass run of car break-ins over there and things stolen and stuff. So I know that's being currently investigated, but that was quite a few cars and homes being like, checked out by criminals that,
At least 15, because that's how many have actually filled out a police report, but at least 15 different houses had cars, and in some cases, garages also
uh,
broken into while they were in their house
yes,
sleeping.
because they were able to get the car clicker or
Yep.
to open the garage door.
Yep.
So partially in their home.
Yeah.
So it can be scary because I leave my garage door partially open, most of the day as long as there's at least two cars in the driveway. But apparently it doesn't matter how many cars are in the driveway.
At least
You
at
know,
night. No, yeah,
yeah.
it's
Well, at
sad.
night, yeah, God forbid, I wouldn't never do that. But maybe from my personal experience coming from New York, coming from Brooklyn, living there, you know, we had cops on the beat. I knew one guy on a regular basis because of where I worked, and he would not that they would walk the street or anything. Brooklyn's kind of big; they wouldn't do that. But if they were driving around, sometimes they would stop in at a diner I might have been at or something. And you know, there's something to be said when it's community-driven police. Now, I'm not saying Gwinnett County doesn't do that. I see them at a lot of different places, events and stuff. But like we've discussed before, you want to be able to make sure that if you have police covering this area, that they're going to be in this area. Yeah, yeah. And if you want them to cover Peachtree Station a little bit more, give it a little bit more attention because things have gone on there. You want that to happen. If you want them to cover a particular apartment complex because they've had a rash of break-ins, you want to be able to say, yes, we're going to commit these forces there and they're not going to go anywhere, unless something else happens in our city. A whole different thing, right? Minutes
Yeah.
away versus 8, 9, 10 minutes away, or maybe not even be able to come, right? Um, the so you've learned a lot from this last meeting. What was the takeaway for you from because there were quite a few. This is why it was 4 hours. There were quite a few people that went up to the mic, and I just got to say the majority of them were no, hell no, and for all different reasons, and half of it was probably because of hell no because we don't trust you, city limits. Although you weren't here when the city was formed, so some of that is not even on you, really. So, but what from that meeting did you take away that you think is a good thing that you need to address? Make sure there's maybe more transparency, maybe more answers for some of the citizenry.
Yeah. I mean, what I always learn from these is different areas that are ones that people there are themes to it. Like if I hear one person bring up something, and it still could be legit, but that's not as strong as if I hear four other people bring up the same thing. And then I'm like, okay, that means that we either didn't do a good job of answering that question because too many people are bringing it up, or we need to drill down even farther because the community wants to drill down even farther. So, an example of that would be the specialized units. That's being coming, it's been brought up a lot about
Right.
if we had our own, we would lose access
Yeah.
to Gwinnett's internal specialized units. And enough people brought it up that told me I need to drill down on exactly how many times has Gwinnett actually deployed a specialized unit? Have we ever even had SWAT deployed in Peachtree Corners or the gang unit? Or have we ever needed to use Gwinnett's ballistic
Yeah.
laboratory,
Hmm.
to do an investigation? I'm not sure the number, but if the number's high enough, it could be to where you're like, wow, that's a big thing you're giving up, or it's hard to replicate. If it's really low, it may be such that you're like, are we really giving up something if we never or almost never use it? You know, are you
Yeah.
really giving it up if the gain unit has never been deployed here and now we're going to lose access to the gain unit? Well, the gain unit was never here to begin with, so we're not really. I don't know the answer, but that's just an example where, I learn what's important to the residents when multiple people say, hey, what about this? What about this?
Yes.
And it allows me to go back and drill down. And then the next community meeting, because this is a process, on the
Uh-huh.
next community meeting I'll have more of that information.
And we
And
were
by the
talking
way, it
about
looks like your cat wants to attend the next community meeting too. Yeah.
this is the third time he's been up here. Just the-
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like, look, I want to be part of this. I mean, stop putting me on the floor.
He's adamant. Um, we were talking part about this when I did some searches about the SWAT teams for the city of Norcross, and I think I found that, and this is based on news stories versus stats because it was difficult to find any hard stats, but only SWAT team was only used in the city of Norcross, for example, 3 times in the last 4 years based on news stories. So just and there they, if I can say this, probably a higher crime area in some parts of their city than we have in ours. Um, so, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, there's some of these specialized units is not going to drag us down if we don't have them, right? And it's not like we're not going to have them, correct? I mean, it would be like Gwinnett County Police or a service partnered with other cities would provide that.
Well, oftentimes what I say without, forcing somebody to listen to all the details of all these units is there are a few like SWAT, bomb disposal,
Mhm.
emergency management that get federal dollars that restrict Gwinnett from
Mm,
prohibiting the use of those
right.
in extraterritorial jurisdictions. So we actually Gwinnett SWAT would still have to respond to us even
Okay.
if we had our own. But there are some other units that's not the case. Again, like Gwinnett has an internal ballistics lab
Mm,
that if we needed one, we could potentially pay Gwinnett to do it.
right.
Or there are others like Georgia Bureau of Investigation that provides it to municipalities free of charge. It's part of the state's offering.
Okay.
It takes a little bit longer sometimes because they're using more, but that's where you start weighing in on, well, how often have we needed ballistics run on weapon? I don't know the answer to that right this second.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's not a lot, then using GBI might be a good one. Some of these specialized skills are merely you training an officer to do, having expertise in two different areas.
Sure.
You can have a trained detective who has homicide, additional homicide investigation training, and but yet most of their investigations thankfully would not, based on our crime data, wouldn't be investigating a homicide. But if we did have one, that person might have been trained a little bit beyond the other
Sure.
investigators on that. So
Yeah.
and I'll close on this by saying all these other police departments, even in Gwinnett, not even outside of Gwinnett, Lawrenceville,
Mhm.
Suwanee, Duluth, long time departments that are city departments that also do not have access to Gwinnett specialized units.
Mhm.
You know what nobody is saying about those departments? That, oh, they're so inadequate because they don't have access to Gwinnett specialized units. They're doing fine. There's a reason why 80% of the cities in Georgia have city police departments, is because
Yes.
when you can take an area that you're responsible for and you can shrink it down, and now you're only responsible for this, you
Mhm.
can improve the level of service because you've decreased your area of responsibility.
Right. And we've discussed that, how that might look. And we've discussed like over 4 years also where the county may be. I think it was within 5 years, we may be looking at population of 1 million, or within 10 years, I think it was. Um, so there's going to be more people in Gwinnett County. They also have issues hiring police. We've discussed that too, where the city of Peachtree Corners can offer higher salary, continuing education, if you will, or certifications and programs. We talked about housing a little bit, how if the city gets developers coming in, they can apportion a percentage of those units, especially marketed to EMT, safety personnel, education, and stuff
Yep.
to incentivize people to live in the city, even to make it
Yep.
easier for them to do
Yeah, the
that.
service sector occupations to live here. Correct. I mean,
So, I mean,
take
that's
home vehicles,
mhm,
access to technology, again, enhanced training
yes. And
opportunities, little things that we can do to separate us from other departments so that if, you know, newly minted officer Figliolini
mhm,
is looking at the North Metro area as where he wants to become a police officer. We just want to be one of maybe even the but that department that holistically you're like, you know what?
mhm,
I like Peachtree Corners instead of going to Gwinnett or Sandy Springs or whatever, because and it could be a lot of different things. They're going to incentivize me living in the city, something I
mhm,
couldn't afford without help.
right.
They're going to send me to extra training. I make a little bit more than I would at another department.
Mhm.
We do have a little bit more control of trying to make our open positions a little bit more enticing than the next department. Remember, how do you not how do you prevent you and your buddy from, or you getting eaten by a bear when you're out in the woods with your buddy? Is you just got to be a little bit faster than your buddy.
Right.
I mean, we just have to be a little bit better than the other departments, and then
Yeah.
we can end up getting the officers that want to come here first. And that would be our goal as to how we could.
Yeah. And I think the argument that I heard was like, how would Peachtree Corners do it any better than Gwinnett? Well, we only need a certain amount of officers here versus hundreds, let's say, on a county level,
Well,
right?
what is it? 936 is their
Yes.
authorized strength, and
Right.
ours would be 52.
Okay, there you go. So all we need, it's like I say to my kids, all you need is one job. When the job market's bad, you just need one job. That's all you need,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, if we can control that aspect of it, and plus the things that I know that's already being done, the crime center in the cloud, people talk about, well, it's technology. You keep pointing that stuff out. It's like, yes, it makes a difference on how you police, how you can break cases, how you can follow the criminals without doing high speed car chases, you know. And if you get one or two of them, maybe the rest of them will get turned. I mean, it's just like, it's just the drones, the way of doing the policing that the modern day police force can do can be done on a faster, more nimble basis, I think, in a smaller unit, if you will, than in a larger place.
That's
Not to say,
correct. I mean,
yeah.
it's simple. It's also simple math. When you have officers, even with Gwinnett,
Mhm.
if a city police department started with the exact same amount of officers to patrol Peachtree Corners as Gwinnett does, even if we had the same starting point at the beginning of a shift, the fact that Gwinnett officers, because of the calls for service and the types of calls for service,
Mhm.
end up getting pulled out from Peachtree Corners to respond outside of our city limits. Even if we had the same amount as the city police department, our guys and gals would never respond to calls for service outside the city limits. So now their response times are less because they're not having to come from, say, West Precinct's headquarters at Jimmy Carter and I-85 or even on the other side of 85.
Right.
Our guys and gals would be always right here. So their response would be quicker. We would have more presence
Mhm.
because they're not leaving the city. And we would get our officers would get more intimately familiar with the community, like the beat cop thing that you grew up with, even if we started with the exact same amount. And we're proposing a higher amount, but even with the exact same amount, we're at an advantage that Gwinnett unfortunately will never have because they have such a large area to patrol.
Yeah, and all that makes sense. The argument, I guess, really is that if you take away the special units, which we discussed may or may not be a matter of importance for our city, and we'll have them covered anyway in a variety of ways. If you take that away and you take away I don't know what else you could take away, but it really comes down to budget. And budget is, as we've discussed, I mean, more or less in 4 years' time, the paying a little bit more, or even if it's 150 versus $70 on the average, let's say, I think that's worth it. I'm paying a certain amount of money for my home insurance, for my car insurance. So paying a little bit more for my life insurance, paying a little bit more for insurance, if you will.
It really is. That's a good analogy.
I
It's
mean,
insurance against future crime, and how to deal with it. It's an insurance policy to make sure you get to control, mayor and council here in a smaller area get to control how we address it
right.
versus hoping that that bigger policy, you can tweak. So it is an insurance policy.
Yeah, in a way. And I understand people may say, well, that doesn't stop crime. Yes, you're right, it doesn't, in the sense of
Right.
being able to be at that moment when a crime happens. But it is to a degree a deterrent when they are around. And it is to a degree the ability to use the force multiplier of the cameras, of the other things that will come through over the next few years to be able to do their policing way better, to capture the criminal, to make sure that people understand then at some point that if you're going to commit a crime in City of Peachtree Corners, you're eventually going to be caught. Technology is such that you're going to be caught at some point. If not now, not this crime, if you come back in, at some point you will be caught and you'll be put to jail.
Yeah.
You know. Um, I think we've, you know, reached a certain point where did you want to talk about what may be, I know one of the things that what may be coming up over the next few months as far as this agenda, if you will.
Yeah, so like I said at the beginning of the meeting, it's a process that was just yet another step in the process.
Mhm.
We learned some things. We're getting more into some more data and certain things. As I said in there, we're having a professional company help us write survey questions that are clearer and more comprehensive than what we created internally without outside help, which again was my error of not
Plus,
realizing that when 60% of the people haven't done any education, personal education on the issue, and the first time they're responding to it is the survey itself,
right.
you can oversimplify the questions and potentially create a problem. So we're doing that. That'll be out, I hope, in the next few weeks.
But it's also going to be administered in a way that you're getting a broad section of people,
That's correct.
not just the motivated people that go online to go take it because they want to say no, which is, to be fair, a majority, I guess, of that survey. But that survey was not representative of the city as a whole.
Well, those
So,
300 was a 368 people, and of those, 70% were against. But that was 368 of
oh,
45,000 plus people.
right. So it's going to be administered more
It
professionally.
will. And
Right.
to that point, one of the other things we're going to do is we're going to have some more geographically focused community meetings,
Hmm.
specifically getting to areas that generally are not civically active and come to the big meetings that we've had so far. And
Right.
at those, we may be having the survey with us and say, here, fill it. We've got your attention for this brief period of time. Fill it out now. So it's a
Mhm.
way to ensure that we're getting to as many people as we can. So that's going to be done.
Plus, you'll probably find out more things, I think, as you did with this meeting, you'll find out more what their concerns are, right?
Yes, what's important to them,
Yeah.
correct. And we are going to bundle and kind of organize, compile um, kind of our concerns about the current level of service from Gwinnett into one, holistic request of Gwinnett. That's
Okay.
going to happen. And so
So
sometime,
that should also take care of the people that suggest that the city should work with the Gwinnett County Police to see if they can address the issues that we want them to address, right?
right.
Okay.
And, you know, s- we have done some of that already,
Right.
but I will say that the resistance we've got has been at the county administrative level, not
Mm,
necessarily within Gwinnett Police Department itself.
right.
Which is why I keep saying that this isn't, you know, a testament to Gwinnett
Mm,
Police Department's, professionalism. It's more of a strategic perspective that Gwinnett County government has on, this the communication between both law enforcement entities. But those things are being done. And so I envision the next large community meeting will be sometime at the beginning of 2026
okay.
because we have some work to do.
Sure.
We want the survey to have time to, get people to do it. We need time to have some smaller targeted meetings with maybe large apartment complex residents or things like that. So, and then when you factor in the holidays and
Right.
people are not, I think it's fair to say it'll be the beginning of 2026. We'll have the next community meeting in which we will no longer we're done needing to start at the very beginning. I think we've done enough of that.
Mm,
We're going to
yeah.
just present the new information, the even more updated crime maps, which takes some time to build. And so, yeah, we've learned a lot. We've learned where we need to zero in on. We learned that we've got to get more active in seeking out input for this and not just sitting back and hoping that a cross section of the city comes out to community meetings. They don't.
No, they don't.
So, we have to go to them to some degree to get their input. So council's still in, they're in listening mode. And my job is to get them to a point where they feel like that the community's been informed enough, or at least those who are interested in getting informed, and those people have provided council their thoughts, and then each council member is like, will at a certain point be like, yeah, I think I'm ready to make my decision.
Yeah. Yes, because it informs them to obviously them as well, because they're the ones that are going to have to vote on it. That was, I think that was what someone had asked. They said, how can we get on this board? Uh,
Right.
how is this being voted? It's like, no, it's not a board. It's a city council that you all elected. And people are funny that way. They're like, we didn't elect them. Well, the elections are coming up. Well, the next set of elections that would be contested probably would be 27 actually.
Yes,
Because the
November of
election,
2027 is the
yeah,
next time any seats are open.
yeah, because this election this year, all the seats are uncontested. So
Correct.
apparently, the city council is doing a good enough job. No one decided to run for a seat. But anyway, so appreciate Brian you
Yeah.
giving me time to discuss this. I mean, when I was at that meeting 4 hours, I think I stayed almost until the last 15 minutes of that meeting. It was just I couldn't take it anymore. Had to leave. Um,
I wanted to leave with you, Rico, but you didn't invite me,
yes,
so I
that's your
stayed.
job to stay there. Sorry, the barbarians are at the gate. So.
Yes.
But thank you for sharing stuff with us. As anyone knows from this conversation, at least, I don't have a problem having the city stand up its own police force. I mean, that's just my own opinion. Obviously, there's tons of other opinions. So if you disagree with me, you should leave comments, and I'm sure some people will. But be gentle. Don't make them, personal comments. Give me factual stuff. Put what you want in the comments, whether this is on Facebook, it'll be on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. and the normal channels you see the podcast at. So put your comments there, share it with your friends if you'd like. Um, Hope to see you soon. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of people in January. Brian, thank you.
Thank you, Rico. Look forward
Yep.
to doing it again.
Stay with me. I'm just gonna thank you, everyone. Appreciate you all being with me. Thanks.